He was a young father, a man who had fought for his right to raise his daughter. He had just won the battle of his life, but his victory would come at a deadly cost. On the night of March 19, 2023, Colby Vinson's life would end in a shocking act of violence. And what made it even more chilling? His 4-year-old daughter was right there when it all went down. Colby Vinson's story starts like so many others, a father trying to do right by his child. But in the end, the system that was supposed to protect him and his daughter failed in the most unimaginable way. This is the true story of Colby Vinson, a father, a man caught in a deadly scheme. Stick around to learn how a custody battle led to betrayal, heartbreak, and murder. Before we dive into the full story, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you love gripping true crime stories like this, you're in the right place. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a twist in our true crime coverage. Colby Vinson was a 24-year-old man from Navarre, Florida. A regular guy trying to make a life for himself and his 4-year-old daughter. His daughter was his world, and the bond they shared was undeniable. Colby fought tooth and nail for shared custody, something that meant everything to him. He was determined to be the father his daughter deserved. After years of legal battles with his ex-girlfriend, Rachiel Moore, Colby finally won 50-50 custody of his daughter. A moment that should have been a triumph of victory for fatherhood, but it would be short-lived. Instead of peace, it would ignite a dangerous chain of events that would ultimately lead to Colby's death. For Colby, this was the fresh start he had longed for. But for others, it was a threat they weren't willing to accept. Rachiel Moore, Colby's ex, was not pleased with the custody ruling. According to investigators, she was desperate to get her daughter back full-time, and when things didn't go her way, her bitterness turned into something far darker. It's believed that she reached out to her former stepfather, Jason Curtis, asking him for a favor. Curtis was no stranger to violence. In fact, he had a history of criminal activity, but he was about to cross a line he could never come back from. What was the favor? To kill Colby, to end the father of her daughter's life, so she could regain control over her child. The plan was chillingly simple. Curtis would travel to Navarre, find Colby, and end his life. Rachiel allegedly paid Curtis for gas, and even sent him detailed instructions and address, a car description, and Colby's daily routine. This wasn't just an act of rage. This was cold, calculated murder, plotted in the shadows of a broken family. On the night of March 19, 2023, Colby Vinson returned home from the store, carrying bags of groceries, a simple task. He had no idea what was waiting for him. Inside his home, Colby's 4-year-old daughter played quietly, unaware that the worst moment of her life was about to unfold. In an instant, Jason Curtis appeared, armed, waiting. A single gunshot rang out. Colby was struck down in the doorway of his own home. The man who fought so hard for his daughter's future dead. And there, in the living room, was his little girl. Colby's daughter, sitting beside her fallen father, would be forever marked by that horrific moment. A child's innocence shattered in the blink of an eye. When the first responders arrived, they were prepared for what they expected to be a tragic scene, but nothing could have prepared them for the sight they were about to witness. The door was ajar. As they stepped inside, their eyes were immediately drawn to the heartbreaking sight. There, in the middle of the living room, sat a small child no older than 2, her face wet with tears, her eyes wide with confusion. She was sitting beside her father, Colby Vinson, who lay motionless on the floor, his life stolen in a single violent act. The bloodstains on the floor were still fresh, a silent testament to the brutality of the crime. The child had witnessed it all. The officers, upon entering the room, froze for a moment. They knew immediately that the worst kind of trauma had been inflicted here. This little girl had been there. She had seen her father shot. Her small world had been shattered, and in the midst of it all, she could do nothing but cry for the man she didn't fully understand was gone. Despite the officers' best efforts to console her, to assure her that she was safe now, the little girl could not or would not stop crying. She looked at them, her face twisted in fear and confusion, but the tears didn't stop. Her sobs filled the air, a constant, agonizing sound that pierced through the heavy silence of the room. "Daddy, Daddy," she cried, her voice ragged and raw. Each cry was desperate, each word an attempt to reach the man she had loved so dearly. She didn't understand what had happened. How could she? Her little mind could not comprehend the violence, the loss. But her heart knew something was wrong. She knew that the man she had always trusted, the one who held her when she was scared, who made her feel safe, he wasn't okay. Her cries were constant. Officers tried to soothe her, telling her that everything would be okay, but she couldn't bring herself to stop. The trauma was too deep, too raw for a child to process. She was too young to understand that her father would never wake up, but she felt the truth of it, a truth too painful for anyone to bear. As the officer carefully carried her away from the scene, her cries lingered in the air. The officers, too, were haunted by the sound. It wasn't just the loss of life they had witnessed, it was the loss of innocence. The terror in the eyes of a child who would never fully understand what had happened, but would feel its weight every day for the rest of her life. As the investigation unfolded, the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. Colby had been targeted. His killer, Jason Curtis. But who had orchestrated it all? Detectives quickly traced the murder back to Rachiel Moore. Phone records, social media messages, and gas receipts all pointed to a chilling truth. Rachiel had orchestrated the murder of her ex to regain custody of their daughter. She had even paid Curtis for gas and gave him the address where Colby lived, making sure he had everything he needed to commit the crime. In the aftermath of the murder, justice had to be served. First came Jason Curtis's trial. The jury didn't take long to convict him of first-degree premeditated murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Then came Rachiel Moore's trial. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Her involvement in the plot, her manipulation, her complete disregard for her own child's well-being. The jury convicted her of first-degree premeditated murder and tampering with evidence. For Colby's family, no verdict could bring him back. But at least the people responsible for his death would never walk free again. This case serves as a brutal reminder of the lengths some people will go to for control, revenge, and power. Custody battles, when taken to extremes, can have deadly consequences. For Colby, it was supposed to be a new beginning, but instead, it was the end. And for his daughter, she is to stay with Colby's mother, her grandmother, but the trauma of losing her father in such a violent way will last a lifetime. But justice has been served, even if it came too late to save him. Colby Vinson's story is one of tragedy, loss, and betrayal. It's a story that reminds us just how far some people will go when they feel cornered. But it's also a story of justice, even if it was a long time coming. If you found this case as chilling as I did, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We cover real crime cases like this every week. Share this story to raise awareness about the dangers of toxic custody battles and the impact they can have on everyone involved. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you have any thoughts or opinions about this case, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.